Glad to be here. That's our official clap into the show tonight. Episode 10. We got to do one of these.
Yeah, Dave and I
Oh, all right. Cheers, guys. Episode 10.
Cheers.
Woo! All right, what do we got here? We got Holidaily Brewing Company.
Favorite blonde.
Golden, Colorado.
Is it Fave-O-Right?
Favorite. So the owner's grandpa was an optometrist. And so this is kind of a nod to him with that eye chart type of descending letter
I
size.
thought maybe that was specifically saying Fave-O-Right.
Favorite.
Pretty good. We'll get into what kind of beer this is
And why we're drinking this.
and why we're drinking it today here in short minutes. So yeah, we've got our 10th episode here. Thanks to everybody, all ones of you that tuned in last week for our thing.
All tens of you.
All tens of you that turned in last week or tuned in last week for our Thanksgiving special. We had a great time. Glad you all could join us. So Andy, let's talk a little bit about our agenda today.
We've got our news. We've got our guest here in the studio, and then we're going to wrap up with our Would You Rather. That has become a staple of our weekly show. So I got a couple news articles. One thing I don't understand. I don't know. Dave said he doesn't do it at all. You said you do some DoorDash,
A little bit
stuff. So have you ever heard of ghost kitchens or ghost restaurants?
No, it does not sound filling.
Well, the definition is for more than what the part I want to talk about it today. But I guess during the pandemic, a lot of restaurants were trying to come up with creative ways to still generate revenue. So what they did was established restaurants started creating like new brand names for themselves, where they picked out things that they thought that people, those things they wanted to accelerate the purchase of on their menu, or things that they wanted to capitalize on because it's a popular item.
Okay.
So, like the other day, I ordered from a fish place. I guess I could say the name. So
Sure, why not?
So I was looking for a catfish place.
Okay.
And I thought I was ordering from like a local mom and pop kind of catfish place.
Okay.
Because I'd rather do business locally than with the chain. Anyway, it shows up 30 minutes later and it's freaking Captain D's. But I ordered it from like Happy Catfish, something like that.
Oh.
So, yeah. And then so I got to looking and doing some more. Today I went through like the DoorDash app and was looking for places that I didn't recognize. And then if you switch from delivery to pickup, it will give you the address of where the place is at. So I was pulling several of these places up, and I'm like here locally, we have a shopping center that's near the NASCAR track that we have here. And one of the main drags through there is Village Parkway or Village. Anyway,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've never heard of this place out there. So I got to looking up the ad, went ahead and I copied the address and looked it up, and it was Chili's.
Odd. So there's some ploy here to make some kind of a cut on every order.
Yeah. So Just Wings is what it's called, and it comes from Chili's. So, and in doing a little more research, I guess IHOP has one. They've got one that's like a Philly cheesesteak, like Philly Cheese Joe's or something like that. Because they're trying to promote other than pancakes off of their menu.
Oh, I see. So it's a legitimate menu and business operation. They're just calling it something other than Chili's to promote that other type of ancillary product on their menu that you don't think of when you think of Chili's.
Right, but like the thing that upset me about it is I didn't want Captain D's, and I thought I was ordering from a local. I didn't know
that was a thing anymore.
Place. Yeah, it is.
I guess it is.
Yeah, another one that cracked me up. It was called like Cellini's or Scalini's Pizza. It's freaking Chuck E. Cheese.
Okay.
So Chuck E. Cheese even. How'd you like to go on there and order this pizza?
Yeah.
And then it shows up in the Chuck E. Cheese box. And
so is there a way to safeguard against?
Some of them, they did say the DoorDash does mark some of them. I couldn't see where they had marked them at.
Okay.
But the only way you can really do it is kind of like I did today by going through, and if it was a name I didn't recognize, and it said, like delivery time is like 20 minutes. It's got to be close.
Right.
So I would hit the pickup instead of delivery to see what the address was. I bet I found like 15 of them in 5 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's a lot of these
Some
out
of them
there.
are grocery stores, some of them. Yeah, so you may think that you're doing a really good thing by ordering from someplace local, only to find out that you're still ordering from a chain that's just hiding behind a different name.
Interesting. So I didn't know that was a thing.
So while I can't see that as a revenue generator or trying to be somewhat creative, I also see that as being somewhat deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
So I was pissed.
Wow, you pissed too, for sure.
I didn't want Captain D's catfish.
You wanted something that probably would taste worse, maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
But you know what? I would rather have gotten that and had it be something worse that I'd given somebody local a shot.
True.
Than to be doing that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I don't disagree.
So the other thing that I've got, did you want to talk about the Chiefs first?
Well, yeah, I thought we'd talk about the Chiefs win, right?
Yeah.
Sunday. Heck of a great game. Came off such a...
No, it was a great, 2.5 quarters of football.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we kind of knew what we were going to get going into the game on Sunday with the Chiefs versus Raiders, but we needed that coming back from kind of a really tight game where we got our asses handed to us last week, or the week before, I should say, with the Eagles. It's good to see the Chiefs show up. I think I feel like their offense has got a little tighter this week. I think the defense got a little bit tighter this week as well. We saw some great plays made, obviously, by Mahomes, and we saw Kelsey back, kind of in the rough of things and really, getting the job done. So it was a heck of a great game. What did you think about it, Andy?
I don't see a lot of issues with the defense. We don't have anybody to catch the damn ball.
Yeah.
And Kennison was out this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not Kennison. McKinnon was out this week. I'm not a huge Clyde Edwards-Helaire fan, but I mean, he did a decent job this past weekend. I love Pacheco, but I mean, how long can we rely on Pacheco and Kelsey?
Right.
To run the entire. I mean, the two other tight ends that we have, it's great, especially in a situation where we have Travis getting doubled and triple teamed.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to have somebody to go to. We just don't have anybody with any hands out there.
Yeah. I
mean, it's just Cole Hardman came back. He was with the Jets, right? I think he was with the Jets and came back a couple weeks ago. He's already on the injured reserve last week. I mean, I don't know. We got rid of him for a reason to begin with and brought him right back in. Really glad we didn't bring Frank Clark back. That's my own personal opinion. I think we were doing well enough with the D we had, but
yeah,
Frank was good for maybe one play a game.
Right.
It seemed like he showed up for one play a game. Yeah. So
it was great to see the win last week, and we're going to be playing. Who are we playing this weekend?
Packers. Yeah,
Packers.
Green Bay Packers. And it's at home.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting to see. A couple of years ago, I don't think we did last year. We've gone. Kansas City's gone out the last few weeks of the seasons and past seasons and picked up some players to help fill some holes. So I'm hoping at some point something can be done over the next few weeks to bring somebody in that can catch the ball, because it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. So you don't want to miss any more long bombs down the
no. I mean,
fairway there.
The game that you talk about the Eagles handing their ass to us. Not really. I mean, Kansas City had the game in the bag. If
if we would have caught the ball,
could have just caught the damn ball. If the ball hit your hands.
Yeah, that was your ball.
You should probably be catching.
That was your ball. Totally agree. Yeah, no, it was a good game. Looking forward to next weekend. We'll see what happens with the Packers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you've got another story here that you were going to hit on.
Yeah, this one's just kind of a random one. I actually just came across it today, and have you guys heard at all about the sugar-free gummy bears that, is it Haribo? Is that how you say it?
Haribo,
whatever it's called.
It's not Black Forest, I know that.
That's ham.
Isn't it called Black Forest? Is that the other kind of gummy bears like Black Forest, right?
All I know Black Forest is ham. But I guess whatever it is,
version of Haribo.
I don't think these sugar-free things have come out that long ago, but do you remember a few years ago when, I think it was Lay's came out with they came out with those, I can't remember how the chips were made, but the bag even said on it that overconsumption could result in explosive
olestra
diarrhea.
in it.
Yeah, olestra. Yeah, it was cooked in that special.
Yep. Oh my goodness!
Special oil. It was on the bag that it could explode. It could cause explosive diarrhea. It did.
Explosive diarrhea.
Yes.
Oh, that kind of explosion.
Yes.
Sound like
on
explosion,
the bag,
sir.
No. But I guess these sugar-free gummies are kind of the same.
Uh-oh.
People were talking about reviews online. So I found some reviews online. They're very crappy.
Yeah.
So this first one, the title of the review was Armageddon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It said, after a few hours, I had an extreme buildup of gas with no relief, and all I could do was lie in my bed and pray to fart.
Oh.
That might sound funny, but when you've eaten something that has basically turned you into to the blueberry girl from Willy Wonka, you're pleading for relief.
Yeah.
Another one said, it's all true. OMG, everything previously written is true. It's all true. Don't eat more than 15 in a sitting unless you are trying to power wash your intestines.
Wow. Okay. So no Veruca Salt action.
No,
we don't want to turn up like a blueberry or turn up like that girl in, was that Hall Pass? Remember they bring her back from the party and she shits all over. She farts. Or no, she sneezes and it just goes all over the back of the shower.
Yeah, I was gonna see if maybe
because of sugar-free gummy bears.
Maybe this was the sugar-free gummy bears are going to do the new colonoscopy prep.
Ooh.
I don't know. This one said, I was glued to the toilet seat. Streams of fire burst from my colon.
Wow, that's a lot.
When I wasn't experiencing Satan's fury exploding from my rear, I was laying in the fetal position on the bathroom floor, sobbing and asking for forgiveness.
Wow.
I'm a 280-pound man. I was sobbing. When it was finally over, I couldn't move. I crawled onto the floor one last time and sat, motionless, until my dehydration finally required that I drink water. The other reviews are perfectly accurate. This is absolutely 100% true. And they go on and on and on and on.
Wow. Okay. So has there been a recall?
There's been nothing written that there's been a recall.
So
but
if
I didn't
you go
know
buy
if you
sugar-free Haribo gummy bears, you're in for a cleansing.
Hold on to your.
Well, this kind of now this makes me think because like back kind of during COVID and like when all that kind of settled a little bit and people could go out in public again, I would take my kids to like Andy's frozen custard or whatever, and they never had gummy worms, and I'm wondering if maybe that's why. Maybe they don't want their customers to.
These are just the sugar free.
Oh, okay.
So whatever it is they're putting in them for the sweetener.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little stevia will get you.
It's probably from China.
Uh-oh.
My guess is from China.
Yeah.
They have the best.
Oh, we're gonna go with Trump again. Oh my God, dude.
Everything is caused by
you're gonna
China.
have 4 more years of work on that.
China.
Too, so we'll see what happens.
China.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yeah, I thought I would share that.
No, that's
we didn't know if you guys had heard.
That's a moving story, Andrew. Andy. For the letters.
I gotta go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Back to Black Forest gummy bears instead of the Haribo. Huh?
I guess we could have had a taste test to go along with our beer today.
And a diaper.
We could each eat 15 and just sit here and stare at each other and see
who can do it first. We could bend over, rear to face, and tell jokes and see who can hold it the longest.
I volunteered to be at the front of the line.
The movie Human Caterpillar just came into mind, dude.
I'm at the front of the line.
Front of the line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're a leader that way, so I appreciate it. Now, so a couple good news stories there. So let's transition to our guests that we have in the studio here. Andy, this is somebody that you know. Why don't you do the honors and let's know what's going on?
So we have Gluten-Free Dave here. I don't know if you want to share your full name or not.
It's fine with me. It's on my social.
So this is Dave, or David Stubler. I've known Dave since kindergarten. Yep. So we were in the same classes together off and on, and actually went separate ways and ended up back at the same high school a few years later and ended up graduating together. And he's much more successful, handsome, and very much smarter than what I am. But I think, were you valedictorian?
I was.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
Wasn't your sister valedictorian too?
My younger sister, yeah.
Yeah, like the next year or 2 years later?
Yep, the next year.
Older sister, not so much.
Not so much.
What the hell happened there?
Yeah. She softened him up for us.
Oh, okay.
She paved the way.
You guys probably don't give her any shit about that at all. Okay. So Dave is gluten and dairy free.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we thought it might be, I don't, so a side note, Dave's son and my daughter, I almost said your daughter and my son, which is not correct, have been dating for the last few years. And the only reason why I know much about anything to do with being gluten-free is mostly from Jacob.
Yep.
When we talk about what's going on. So we just thought it'd be interesting for you to maybe tell us a little bit about like when you first noticed it, what maybe some of the symptoms were, and then how that's changed your life, and then about the star that you've become today as a result of that.
So I think it was probably around 2005, the best I can remember, where I started throwing up regularly, and it turned into 3 to 5 times a week, usually after dinner. And that lasted about 10 years. I saw a lot of doctors, did a lot of tests. They gave me different medicine. Nothing helped. And I changed doctors in, I think, 2016. And my new doctor tested my thyroid. I have thyroid disease, so it's called Hashimoto's. It's where your body is trying to destroy your thyroid like it was an infection. And it's, medication, no big deal, and they can treat it. But as I was reading things about Hashimoto's, I found an article that said there's a high correlation between people with Hashimoto and people with gluten intolerance or celiac disease. And at the time, I didn't know what either of those were. And so I started Googling celiac and gluten and, found, common symptoms, and reading down the list. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And I quit eating gluten that day and stopped throwing up. And, there was other symptoms. I also had a lot of bloating, joint pain, things like that I didn't know was all related. But I had so much joint pain. For my birthday one year, Sarah got me an inversion table. And I'd get on that for about 5 minutes a day and relieve the pain. But after going gluten-free, within 6 months, the joint pain was gone, and we were tired of stubbing our toes on it. It was in our bedroom. There was no good place to put it. Got rid of it. And brain fog and, it was a lot of unrelated symptoms that just kind of all went away. And so, at the time I could tolerate, I was eating it every day. So, I could tolerate some amount of it. But once I quit eating it, my body became hypersensitive to just a cross contact. Just any one crumb would make me sick, 6 months later. And so our house is now gluten-free. And it's a crazy thing is, gluten has it's kind of a, I don't know, controversial thing where some people do it because it's fashionable. A lot of trendy diets, different things they do. And gluten-free, a lot of restaurants have a gluten-free or gluten-friendly menu, but it's really not. They're just trying to feed that, I don't know, just the popularity of the diet, and
to be able to say that
just to say
have gluten-free items.
Right.
Sure, yeah.
And there's, people that are, the trendy gluten-free eaters will go to a restaurant, make a big deal about ordering a gluten-free meal, but then they'll eat a piece of bread, when that comes out. And so wait staff, they see that. And so, kind of, there's some people like myself, it's a necessity to be gluten-free clean, where other people, can cheat. And so it's kind of a, controversial thing, but a good side of it, because there's so many people do it because it's trendy, there's a lot more products, being developed for that community.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot better options available now.
Well, I know it's been several years ago. The first time I heard about it was a guy that I worked with, his daughter, they were going on a Disney cruise. And he got this huge packet in the mail from them after they booked the cruise. And it was like the entire meal plan for the week that they were going to be there. He was telling me about his daughter had celiacs and started explaining. It still was like,
right.
That was before you really heard anything about gluten. A friend of my brother's, he had been, same thing. It was the achy joints, and it was just, he felt like he was beat up all the time, and just like he was drained and he couldn't he went to doctor after doctor after doctor, and they finally figured out that it was gluten that was
Mm-hmm.
So what actually? So it's a wheat byproduct, or
Yeah,
is it
so
actually a
it's-
piece of?
It's
That's part
it's
of
a
the wheat?
protein that is in it's in wheat, it's in barley, it's in a few other grains, but most commonly in wheat.
So does that put wheat completely out, or does it have to be processed a different way, or is there a substitute that's used?
So it's primarily a substitute. And so there are some people that have a true wheat allergy, which I don't have a wheat allergy. I just have I can't tolerate gluten. And so there's some flours that use like the starch from the wheat.
Mhm.
And so I can tolerate wheat starch, but I can't have, gluten. So I don't know how they chemically remove it, probably,
Yeah.
the way they take caffeine out of coffee or something. But most of the flours I use is a blend. There's no one flour that replaces, traditional wheat flour.
Right.
So it's a blend of rice flours, potato starches, tapioca starches, and
Like almond
so
flour. Or
almond
something like
flour.
that?
There's different blends and for different things. Like you can't, bake like a loaf of bread with the same blend that you fry fish with,
Right.
and so you have to do, it's a trial and error. And so I've, since going, gluten free, I've, learned to cook at home and cook and bake just out of necessity because, there's very few places I could go out to eat. And it's become my favorite hobby. I love it. And so I love to find, something that I haven't had in a long time and recreate it at home. And, it can be challenging and you'll make some bad food, but eventually figure it out.
I don't know, man. All those pictures on his Instagram, I'm like, dude, I could do this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I could do this thing. I probably need to do this thing too
Yeah.
for like weight purposes. But
So,
anyway.
so your household's gone gluten free.
Mm-hmm.
So your wife Sarah has no gluten issues, but so how is that? Have you seen? Has going gluten free? Has there been any effect with her?
Not really, because she'll still have gluten outside of the house.
Oh, gotcha.
So she'll out with friends or
Mhm.
coworkers or something.
So
Now, some people are so sensitive to gluten
Mhm.
that, let's say she's out and about and she has a beer and then comes home and wants to give you a smooch off the table. Now, are you that sensitive or to the
Maybe,
to the gluten,
maybe.
not to your wife's kissing you?
I would. Yeah, it would. I would have to, physically consume something off of her lips or
Okay.
So
I don't know if you heard the story. Retell that story about making the kids sandwich
Yeah. And so it was probably about 6 months after I went gluten free, I started getting sick at home again. And it was the cross contact just from the kitchen. And so one time I remember I made a sandwich for my son and I didn't wash my hands. And then I made a sandwich for myself and I got sick. Now, when you make a sandwich, I mean, you don't have crumbs like all over. I mean, it's the protein or oil or whatever. It's just trace amounts. You can't even see it. But that is enough now to make me sick.
Kind of effect on you.
Yeah.
And I assume the further you get away from having any kind of gluten in your life,
Mm-hmm.
pro con, you're healthier, but you're also more and more sensitive to it, I would think.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here's where my head goes with gluten free and celiac disease and things like this. I guess in my head I think about like when I was a kid and before that and up until I don't know when the terms gluten-free and celiac disease came around, and probably way before I was aware of it. But I guess where my head goes is, what the hell did people do before people knew you shouldn't be eating this part of the wheat chaff?
Right.
I
don't know. I mean, and when we were growing up, I didn't know anybody with a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody with all these allergies to everything. So
I guess people just got sick.
Or our food is different.
Oh.
And so I do know that the wheat they grow today, has a higher yield.
Mm-hmm.
It's drought resistant. When you bake with it, things rise more. I think it's not the same wheat that was around 50 years ago.
Well, I think this is actually a good tie-in, the guy that we're having on next week.
Yeah, it's a great tie-in.
One of the things that he and I talked about, he's all about fasting.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the doctors that I've listened to, one of these doctors that he's met through being involved in this, and that's what he said, our bodies are however many millions of years old.
I was just thinking the same thing I was just about to mention.
And our bodies are still intelligently designed to the point of eating a diet that was there years and years and years ago.
Right? Yeah.
But our food has changed.
Yes.
And our bodies, the way that they were designed to eat, and it's not the same anymore. What we're putting into our bodies weren't designed for all of these things that are coming in.
Right.
And it's
like
just
Olestra
and
sugar-free gummy bears.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and you hear about some of these diets, the keto, the paleo, and all this kind of, a lot of them are, very much against, the carbs and the breads and things like that. Well, when you really kind of think about it, and I know what you were talking about with that doctor on YouTube, and I think what he kind of talked about is he was illustrating that the human body, when it comes to physiology with food, is if you think of a 24-hour clock on a wall, and he says the human body has had millions of years or whatever, thousands of years, whatever you want to call it, to effectively utilize energy, food, right? The industrial age, which is probably part of where this gluten has come from, and surely the scientific age from, bastardizing these wheat fields and making these, overproducing and high yield strains or whatever, has created a situation where we're assuming our bodies that have been perfected to consume and process food can change in the last 15 seconds on that 24-hour clock. And we can't, and things like processed foods in general, we shouldn't be eating, but, gluten, right? And dairy's the other one, right?
Well, yeah, just go back and think what was available before modernization of everything that we have.
Yeah.
You couldn't just go to the fridge. You couldn't just go to the store. You had to go out and you found something that had grown organically, or that you had planted, or you went out and you killed something, or you caught a fish, or whatever the case was.
Sure.
It wasn't hormone genetically changed chickens.
You weren't going down to the Save and Pay with your little grocery getter cart.
Yeah, it wasn't breeding chickens that had six breasts.
While you're rocking your loincloth,
6 breasts and 4 legs, and all this stuff.
The turkeys were this big,
all the hormones and everything else that's pumped into stuff. So that's going to happen. I get that.
Yeah.
But, okay, so I know that you're definitely involved in the. I guess we're on round 2 now. in case you haven't noticed that at this point.
Big Henry Hazy IPA.
Hazy IPA.
These are gluten-free beers we're drinking.
I
got to be honest with everybody. While Dave's in the room here, when you told me about the beer tasting, the gluten-free thing, I thought, I'm going to have diarrhea tomorrow.
He was like, gluten-free beer.
Right.
I actually had some. It's pretty good.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I haven't tasted this one yet. I kind of feel like it needs a lemon.
Yeah, it's a little bit citrusy.
Yeah.
All right. Or an orange, like a blue moon or something.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So on the gluten-free beer, so I'll tell this little story on the brewery. So Karen Hurst is the owner. She used to work at Coors, and she is 2 times cancer survivor, had to quit gluten and dairy. And so, when I quit eating gluten and dairy, I learned how to cook. She opened a brewery, so she can't.
I like that.
Right?
You're eating gluten-free. She's drinking gluten-free.
Yeah, and so she's one of my gluten-free heroes. And the reason she opened her own brewery is the gluten-free beer available at the time was bad. I mean, really bad. And so she has a craft brewery, and she has I call him her secret weapon, Alan. He's the head brewer. He doesn't have to be gluten-free. So he can drink regular beer, and then he can modify their recipe so it tastes right.
His taster is based on what's out there available that's not gluten-free.
Exactly. And so it's made in the same traditional ways, but instead of wheat and barley, they use buckwheat and millet.
Oh. Okay.
And so it's roasted.
Not mullet.
Millet.
Right. Millet.
Oh, okay.
Not mullet.
Oh, right. I figured when in Wyandotte, there you go, right? It's either that or playing soccer.
You're outnumbered.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So anyway, so they make great beer. They started distributing to Kansas City about 2 years ago, maybe.
I saw Lucas has it.
Yeah, Lucas. They're at all the Hy-Vees. They're at Total Wine.
I'm assuming they're doing pretty well if they're distributing.
Absolutely. This one's at Kaufman Stadium. They sell the Favorite Blonde up in the Craft and Draft. Not yet at Arrowhead, but they're in Kaufman.
$20 a can at Kaufman.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
22 for a 16 ounce now.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. So I'm just excited to have. Yeah, I'm excited to have beer again.
Oh, I'm sure you are. Yeah, I would be very excited about having beer again too. Yeah, absolutely.
When did this come out?
That brewery opened in 2016.
So you've been drunk since 2017?
Yeah, I always have it in the fridge. This is what I serve at home.
Yeah.
I have had so I have had this one at Dave's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Did not have this one. This one is good. I do like that.
Yeah. Okay, so you're having some medical issues. How many years ago?
So 2016, I stopped
so 6,
gluten.
7 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. You have some medical issues. You think, hey, I'm going to try this gluten-free, dairy-free lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably people listening that are thinking, hey, you know what? Whether I'm intolerant or not, maybe I need to get off of gluten, maybe try something and change the way I do my diet. So changing your lifestyle from a dietary standpoint, difficult period, right? Okay. If you had to give some advice, having gone through that process, I don't know if you stumbled a little bit from time to time and snuck a chocolate or whatever you did, but what advice would you give to people who are thinking about transitioning or may have to transition to a gluten-free environment?
The gluten-free food and substitutes, they're expensive, much more expensive, 2 to 4 times as much as a regular. And it's smaller as well. And so one of the advices is, a lot of Indian food is naturally gluten-free. You don't have to change the recipe. A lot of Hispanic food is naturally gluten-free. And so focus on some of those, not cuisines, but ethnicities.
Sure. Yeah.
And so you can buy normal price ingredients. So, all your proteins are gluten-free.
And
all your
vegetables.
Makes a mean tamale too. I'm not going to lie to you.
Who?
I said the man makes a mean tamale.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's one of those other things that, I used to work at the GM plant. And on Wednesdays, there was a guy, Mikey Gomez. He would bring in his mom made tamales. And he'd sell them $1 a piece. You get a dozen for $10. So every Wednesday I had tamales. And then, eventually I said, I hadn't had them in forever. I said, I'm going to learn how to make tamales. And I ran into him at Walmart about a month ago, and I told him that story.
They're pretty damn good.
Yeah. We may have to try these. We'll have to try these out sometime.
We have a party. We'll make 7 or 8 dozen, and everybody goes home with a bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Gluten-free tamales.
Well, all tamales are gluten-free. Naturally gluten-free.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I keep thinking of the scene from what's that movie with Seth Rogen where he's the end of the world or this is the end.
Oh,
and they're talking about I'm gluten-free. Well, what's a gluten? Everything's a gluten. Calories are gluten, fats are gluten, coffee's a gluten, everything's a gluten.
Yeah.
And then the next scene, they cut to the next scene and he's just piling down a hamburger and frying crap.
It's interesting. And it's actually pretty shitty to think about, not going back to the gummy bears, but that the food that you have to consume now is 3 to 4 times more expensive, and it's smaller quantities.
Right.
It's like pharmaceutical control over food. They know you have to have it, and you don't have a choice.
Don't have a choice.
You have to eat it, so they can charge whatever the hell they want for it.
Exactly. And that's why I say, focus on the things that are naturally gluten-free, and then enjoy the others as a treat, not a everyday.
Well, there are a lot of substitutes, which is nice. But to your point again, they're expensive.
But you're going to have to either focus back on. So, are there any fruits and vegetables that have gluten in them, or is it only
fruits and vegetables? It's only grains.
Your protein, so it's only a grain type.
So
all your
pasta,
bread,
breads,
not in potatoes, on anything like that.
And the gluten-free bread is come a long way. It's still drier and more crumbly than regular bread, but it's bread. I can still have a sandwich, and the pastas you couldn't tell a difference now.
So I saw a video on your Instagram, you were at In-N-Out. So did you bring your own bun?
Bring my own bun, and yep.
Yeah. That was kind of one of my questions I had on here was, there's social situations. A lot of times you'll see I've been around people in the past that like don't drink alcohol, and you're at a company function or something like that. Like, hey, they go to the bartender. If I order a vodka martini, bring me a water with olives in it or something like that, right? Just kind of not worry about the social situation, but that's got to be challenging.
It is,
right? So what are some of the challenges you have experienced, now being in that gluten-free lifestyle when it comes to being in some of those social situations?
It's tough. And so I used to go to restaurants and, talk to the wait staff and try to negotiate a meal, how they're going to prepare it. But I kept getting sick from it. And so I don't even try anymore.
Cross-contamination type things.
Yeah, the kitchens are just too busy. And I don't blame the restaurants because we couldn't do it in our own home. And we were all trying to, keep me. So again, I know it's hard, but I'll still go. And wine's gluten-free.
No.
There's wine everywhere. Coffee is, tea is.
Just drink your dinner.
Time of day, just drink my dinner. Have a snack in the car and have wine for dinner.
You've just had to adjust to the point where you either have to bring something if you're going to be in a situation where you're probably not going to be able to do it, or you just either eat before you eat after you
exactly.
Whew.